them down like axe. Every kid and race finally got places love to the max. And when we tell them man, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics.
And it is zero race talk, zero idiotic talk. I deal with facts and information.
Politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago till we have this thing out to fix. We coming with facts, cut them down like axe. Every kid and race finally got places love to the max. And when we tell them man, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics.
And it is zero race talk, zero idiotic talk. I deal with facts and information.
Douglas politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago till we have this thing out to fix. We coming with facts, cut them down like axe. Every kid and race finally got places love to the max. And when we tell them man, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics.
And it is zero race talk, zero idiotic talk. I deal with facts and information.
Douglas politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago till we have this thing out to fix. We coming with facts, cut them down like axe. Every kid and race finally got places love to the max. And when we tell them man, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics.
And it is zero race talk, zero idiotic talk. I deal with facts and information.
Douglas Politics, Tuesday night 7:30. No Senate, we on break. All right.
I am asking, what would the UNC have done differently?
Well, the Dwayne asked the UNC a question. What would the UNC have done different? Well, all they will get the answer, full answer, on Tuesday night, 7:30, Douglas Politics. Dwayne, don't dare we, don't ask we. You are the worst. You will find out on Tuesday night, Douglas Politics, 7:30 p.m. Dwayne, don't Dwayne. Don't worry, we'll Dwayne. We'll answer all your questions, Mr. Dwayne. We ain't riot yet. Douglas Politics, 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, we start on time. Don't play Douglas Politics.
Douglas Politics, we don't get no kicks. Politics, this is Douglas Politics, yo. Douglas Politics, listen, Douglas Politics, yeah. Douglas Politics, this is Douglas Politics, yeah. Douglas Politics, this is Douglas Politics. Douglas Politics, this is Douglas Politics, yo. Douglas Politics.
Good evening, welcome to Douglas Politics. Happy Spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day to the entire Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And as we're talking about Trinidad and Tobago, let me just start it. Today is all about the Dwayne. We're going to talk the economy. So tell the Dwayne, all you tell him, log on now. Get the lawyers, get everybody to record. You all share the live, please. We're going to analyze. The Dwayne asked, what would the UNC have done differently over the last 6 years with the economy? Well, we're going to tell you, Dwayne. But first of all, as we talk in Trinidad and Tobago, understand this clearly. When you go to an event, an Olympics, a World Cup qualifying event, they fly the flag of your country. They put up the flag on the day of the event after 6 a.m. So for example, if we are going to play a football match and we're going to play against, let's say, Puerto Rico, the Trinidad and Tobago national flag will be flying in the stadium where our team is going to play. Our team should arrive at least 3 hours before kickoff time, walk out in their slippers and their relaxed track pants and so on, look at the sunlight, look at the venue, look at the stands, get a feel for how the stadium, the lighting, the vision, the feel, touch the grass, go out there, then get back in the changing room, come back for a warm-up, a pre-warm-up, getting going, getting into your groups, goalkeepers warming up, defenders warming up, midfielders and so on, doing your stretches, all the coaching staff, technical staff, medical staff, media staff, all the Trinbagonian people should be out there on the field. We finish the warm-up about 40 minutes before the actual kickoff time, get back in the dressing room, put on your uniform, put on your socks, tape up, put on your ankle band, your shin pads and so on, get your team talk, the coach tell you who's starting and going in the lineup, you line up and you get out and you walk outside. Why am I telling you all of this? Trinidad and Tobago played a World Cup qualifier against Puerto Rico. Archie, after all of that I tell you, so at a minimum of 3.5 hours, all the Trinidad and Tobago players, staff, officials, everybody would have seen this and left it so. Run it, Archie. Run it again and pause it on my flag for me, please. Run it again and pause it on my flag. All you look at this, you know, World Cup qualifying, what pause it there? World Cup qualifying. So all my boys, all my staff, forget Fennick. I know Fennick don't know whether the flag upside down, right side up. He know about Union Jack. So me is studying Fennick on this one. But my brethren Sean Fuentes and all the staff and the doctors and the assistant coach and the trainer and the equipment manager and all the players, all you want to see that? All you ain't see that when you walk out in the stadium when you arrived 3 hours before. All you ain't see that when you was warming up. All the substitute on the bench who didn't get no sweat. All you ain't see that. Play it again, Archie, because all you have no shame in this country. This is why the country upside down. Far less, we draw with Puerto Rico. All you now know why? Puerto Rico does play baseball and basketball. Look at my national flag. Look at my national flag. Anthem played. Man singing anthem, hand on chest. Man watching. You're supposed to turn to the flag, and all you leave that day, that was so at the end of the game too. I don't know what to say. How much all you noticed that when all you was watching the game live? What I go say? No big thing, ain't? Because that's how Trinidad running. Trinidad and Tobago running topsy-turvy, so no big thing. Let it flow, let it slide. And I'm not blaming Fenwick for that. He ain't no Trinidad born here, he don't know about them thing. All you choose seat a coach, well, all right, I could blame he fan. I won all draw with Puerto Rico. Let us not talk no sport here today. As we talk in sport, one shot. It's a bacchanal in the PNM before I go to the Dwayne boy. One shot. The man who's the Attorney General, who bringing laws to tell you that you have to wear mask in your car with your wife and child, that you getting charged 7,000 people getting fined $1,000. The man, but I ain't talking about that again, because that get beat out right now. But oh God, Al-Rawi, you want to be a sweet boy, but it's one shot you have. Let me see it. Let me see the shot. Where you wear the shot? In some chutney thing, some chutney event. Let me
Everybody
see,
just do the balize.
Yes,
Right
man.
foot,
Shot looking
balize.
good.
Left foot, balize. Everybody just do the balize. Right foot, balize. Left foot, balize. Everybody just do the balize. Everybody just do the balize. Right foot, balize.
Regarding the Attorney General being at a private event, more than 10 people, all of them en masse. This was carried live, I think, the day before yesterday.
Just do the balize. Everybody just do the balize. Right foot, balize. Left foot.
My comment on that is that that is disappointing.
Right.
Pointing also. But you have the thing there, Archie. Show my boy, like my boy, while he had no mask, he is the man bringing law. He knows social distancing. Them fellas look like they arm wrestling and only shooing it in each other's ears. But look at his shirt. That was at some Chutney Awards. Hey! All you didn't know is only one shot. He wear that at one fete. He wear that at a Chutney Awards. He wear that in the voice vibes. All you get a next shot for the sweet boy now. The man playing sweet boy. He lost 31 case and he only have one shirt. Like Dicey shirt that he does get lucky with. All the girls them like that shirt. What is that, Vishnu? Archie, what is that?
You have one man shirt there?
I have on his shirt.
Yeah.
Hey! Archie, like I have one shirt too. Anyway, let me get serious now. But what is going on in the PNM? So Keith Christopher Rowley is disappointed in his Attorney General. But then today, I am reading the Newsday editorial. And all they don't talk there, all they disturbing me. The Newsday editorial. And Newsday is Judy Raymond. Judy Raymond is Rowley and Rice. Whatever Rowley have that Kamala don't have, Judy Raymond love that. I don't know if it's iron. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's tablet. I don't know what it is, but something Judy Raymond loved about Rowley for a long time. She loved him long time. So when I read Judy Raymond, oh good, all they don't do me that now, you frighten me. Oh good, I get scared there. Rowley, you have no shame now. Anyway, I read in the Newsday editorial today. When is an apology not an apology? Even as he apologized for his lapse last week, Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi dug in his heels. Though no law was broken, I should have done better and unreservedly apologized, Mr. Al-Rawi said on Sunday, somewhat passive-aggressively, hours after the Prime Minister had issued the clearest of rebukes. He was, he said, disappointed in the Attorney General. At issue was no law. At issue was the example set. Mr. Al-Rawi, apology notwithstanding, made it plain that he saw things differently, saying temperatures at last Thursday's social media event were taken, hand sanitized, and besides, the regulations drafted by his office are blurry. So the Newsday is now admitting that Al-Rawi is incompetent and brought blurry law to the Parliament and the Senate, like the UNC was saying, downstairs and upstairs. This was actually the second time in the space of 24 hours that the Cabinet's second most senior official found himself at odds with Dr. Rowley. Keep in mind, this is Judy Raymond. This is Rowley and Rice who writing, Okay. These repeated patterns on the part of Mr. Al-Rawi suggest, despite his avowals of loyalty, nothing short of open defiance and a breakdown of his relationship with the head of the cabinet. Open defiance and a breakdown of the relationship with the head of the cabinet, says Judy Raymond. But if the Attorney General's actions over the weekend are unsatisfactory, his conduct last Thursday was injudicious and poorly timed, and for reasons not limited to COVID-19. A scathing attack by Judy Raymond and the Newsday, a scathing attack by Rowley and Rice, by this lady. Let me don't look. When you put it up, I'm not looking. I can't look, but at least I have fair warning now, Archie. Don't do me that again. You nearly frighten me like it's Halloween. Let me tell you something. This lady, Judy Raymond, who has an affinity, a love, an affection, a passion for Rowley. She's the one who attacked India, attacked Prime Minister Modi, attacked India domestic policy, attacked the Indian High Commissioner, attacked India totally, rather than accept vaccines in order to make Rowley look good. All you can't find she, all you delete it, well, thank God is good, God is good. I didn't really want to see she anyway. But all you know who I'm talking about. She continued. Mr. Al-Rawi was reappointed after last year's general election amid noise over cabinet transactions often involving property, which prompted repeated recusals from cabinet meetings on his part. Government assured such recusals were not unusual. So even the Newsday and Judy Raymond now understanding and now writing and now making note and now alerting the population that Al-Rawi is wrong, that Al-Rawi's recusals are improper, that it is totally inappropriate. How come? How come the truth coming out? Judy Raymond? The Attorney General's indiscipline not only sets the wrong example, but it is effectively a dagger to the heart of the administration he serves. So Judy Raymond and Rowley, like dirty snow. See, when you have a snowball and it mixed with some dirt and mud and you roll it, that is Rowley and Judy Raymond. Squish them together like dirty snow. And they are attacking Faris, Al-Rawi, a la one shot, a la recusal, a la landlord, a la bad law, a la no mask, a la hug up man, a la bray like a donkey, a la that one catch me laughing at my own joke. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Hey. This is Douglas politics? Or this is a romantic Lifetime movie? Show that again, Archie. Look at this. Welcome to Lifetime, where we provide you with information and topics of an intimate nature That's the worst Lifetime movie in history. So let me tell you something we will take very careful note. This mushy snowball attacking the one-shot sweet boy. Great is the PNM. Are you all crumbling? Well, when we come back, I'm giving you all time to share the live, share the live, share the live. Call Mimbert asked. Imbert asked opposition during no confidence debate, what would you have done? What would the UNC have done differently with the economy, with the business, with the jobs, with everything? Well, boy, the UNC, the Douglas, go in and answer you, call Mimbert. We go in and answer you fully. Press record, share the live, because we're getting serious now. Dwayne, we ain't riot yet. We coming back.
Douglas politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago till we have this thing out the fix. We coming with facts, cut them down like axe. Every kid and race find and Negro places love to the max. And when we tell them Manel, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah.
Well, COLMIMBERT.
Run! Archie went in the archives, boy. Run it.
Well, COLMIMBERT.
On that note, call Mimbert. I am now ready to answer your question. What would the UNC have done differently? Call Mimbert, first of all, Kamala Prasad Bisesa would not have put an engineer as Minister of Finance. She would have put a qualified economist or someone who had worked and was qualified in the economic and financial spheres. She would not have put a failed engineer who anything he built blow down, whether in Grenada or in Diego Martin. So she would not have done that first and foremost. Secondly, she would have put someone who also, having knowledge about economics, also cared about people. Because when you're in politics, you have to mix the financial economic position with the social. It's a balance. So she would have found somebody with a heart who liked people. You have not liked people since you was born. We're not even so sure if your wife and family like you. PNM don't like you. Nobody like you. You're the most discourteous, disliked human being on God's green earth. These are just facts. And if that is you, and you are selfish, self-centered, egotistical, arrogant, you go in an MP office and tell people pull from number 1 to 25 and you not seeing number 26. That leads to pain for others because your decision making when faced with information would only be about self-serving interests. Secondly, Kamala Prasad Bisesa is a humanitarian, loves children, single mothers, the poor, loves people, tries to improve the lives of people. So, having her as Prime Minister, as opposed to a callous, heartless self-hater like Rowley, who don't like nothing or nobody except himself and his financiers, that alone would have caused different decisions to be made, even in the face of the same information. If all the information remained the same, how human beings live their life, their character, their heart and soul will determine the decisions that come out of the information column. But furthermore, we would have left Jawala Rambaran as the central bank governor, a man who's highly qualified, so highly qualified that the International Bank wanted him to head there. But you recommended something, but we'll wait for the outcome of that. But with Jawala Rambaran, who was sharing information, believed in transparency, understood economics, finance, the monetary policy, understood the need for the independence of the central bank, he would have been the central bank governor and would not have been hounded out of office. To put somebody who is amenable to the executive, and therefore the monetary policy and the fiscal policy of the government were working in the same direction rather than counterbalancing to protect citizens. Jawala Rambaran also believed in total transparency when it came to the foreign exchange. You blew him out and got very upset when he let the country know that PNM financiers and big boys, those rich ones that Rowley and you want to get richer and hope the quick crumbs will trickle down. Jawala Rambaran wanted to show the country that their US reserves were only being distributed in a certain way. And he wanted everybody to have access to foreign exchange. That would have provided many more citizens with a little ease and a little comfort in order to conduct business. We, Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC, would have protected the sea bridge. We had it running smoothly, and therefore the economy of Tobago would not have been in total collapse based on the decisions taken by you. We would have left the Canadians maintaining the sea bridge. The Spirit and the Express were working brilliantly, and the superfast Galicia at 14,500 euros would have remained there to service Tobago. Therefore, Tobago's tourism economy would not have taken the death dive that was taken under you and the PNM, as you took away the Canadians, gave the Sarabai of a board member of the PNM the contract, Macmillan, who then could not handle the vessels, and the collapse of the sea bridge began. We would not have brought Bridgemans, we would not have put Allison Diligent Lewis to approve Bridgemans. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would not have approved any charter party agreement for crooked money over the phone, because that's not how she operated. She operated with cabinet, full discussion, and F&GP. We would not have put Tobagonians on goods on barge to take 12 and 13 hours. We would not have leased any Levalet for 34,500 euros when you said it was thieving and corrupt at 14,500. So the Tobago's economy would have been boosted. Sandals would not have been given wholly and solely sole select for no man's land. The THA would have been brought into the loop, and the THA would have been asked by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the Minister of the Tourism and the Economy, the Minister of Finance, to conduct an RFP for no man's land to be adjudicated and looked over and evaluated by the THA for no man's land, inviting bids from all over the world for this pristine piece of real estate for development and for foreign direct investment, rather than putting all the eggs in one Sandals basket because a prime minister who was leader of the opposition played golf with his partner and put his small pin to run all over Randall Mitchell. So Randall Mitchell, he only lose his portfolio. He lost his seat dog, Liman and Eagle. And that's why his dog is now under super protection, because they might be coming for his dog too. So that would have happened. Therefore, foreign direct investment would have been more applicable, and we would not have been at the mercy of one Butch Stewart, who then told Tobago to go and scratch, even though he had invested in every Caribbean island up the chain, from Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Jamaica, straight down to Grenada. He had spent his own money, but he found two clowns, a Dwen and a Rowley with a small pin, and he had a time, and then he told you all to go and scratch. Furthermore, we would have diversified the economy. Exactly in Tobago, for example, we would not have put a minister of sport who is only jog, because we have a great capacity through the infrastructure that exists in football stadium, track and field, swimming, cycling, all the sports, plus the ecotourism sports, the sailing, the windsurfing, the jet skiing, the powerboat racing, the sport fishing. We would have had sport tourism, especially in Tobago, moving and generating over $300 million annually, increasing the number of tourist arrivals from 2014 levels under Stephen Cadiz at 97,000 international visitors, unlike 2017 PNM numbers of 17,000. We would have also continued to encourage Trinis to go across and domestic tourism, and the sea bridge would have been functioning. The airport under Cadiz, we increased the number of flights till 2-3 a.m. continuous flights on Caribbean Airlines, and the Airlink was also working better. Therefore, Tobago would have been a jewel and not collapse. Tobago's economy after you came in 2015, in 2016, 17, 18, declined by a cumulative 24%. People are being foreclosed before COVID because of your mismanagement of the Tobago economy, the disrespect of Kelvin Charles and the Chief Secretary, and the lack of listening to Tobagonians as you continue to dictate and even have Tobagonians in the Senate saying, when Tobago cannot handle their business, Big Daddy Trinidad will step in and decide for them, which is absolute, total, abject nonsense. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would have put together a cabinet of intellectuals and experts in their field. In health, for example, she would not have found a pharmacist who could not pass a pharmacological exam. She would have had a choice and selection of doctors who had operated in the system. The last time we were there, Fuad Khan had the health system working and functioning much better than it is. It is in total collapse now. People cannot even get the oncology drugs. They do not even have plastic bowl to put Panadol in. People are waiting 2 and 3 years, or getting eye cataract surgery 2 years down the line, heart surgery and ECG tests 2 and 3 years they have to wait to get it. Total collapse in the health system. The UNC would not have shut down Petrotrin. The UNC would not have shut down Petrotrin. The UNC would have listened, read, and taken the advice of the Lashley, the McKinsey, and the Solomon reports that the taxpayer paid $64 million for, and would have restructured in conjunction with labor, with the OWTU. Yes, Roger is a clown, but he's the leader of the OWTU. You still have to sit down with him and negotiate. And Petrotrin would have remained open. The bullet payments of $850 million US would have been renegotiated based on Petrotrin's restructured wage bill, and the credit facility would have been restructured for longevity, for a longer period, to remain operational and to keep producing. Therefore, we would have continued to have an injection of approximately $2 billion US annually into our economy, and the crunch on the Forex would not have been as it is now. Furthermore, the shutdown of Petrotrin and the unemployment and the mamagism of the OWTU that is seeing that Petrotrin remains closed going on 3 years now. So Trinidad and Tobago would have lost over $6 billion US in that time. This would not have occurred. Citizens would not have lost their jobs. Defense line communities would not have been in collapse. People would not have lost their businesses in Pointe-a-Pierre, San Fernando, in the Southwest Peninsula. Economic activity would have continued. Taxes would have been paid. When you shut down Petrotrin, the 5,389 workers, those taxes come out first. So you gave up cash in hand of 500 million TT by shutting down Petrotrin, because the friend of the Prime Minister, who he called when there was an allegation of fake oil, 100 million, that had to be seen about because of your closeness. Kamla don't know no fake oil man. Kamla didn't line with no fake oil man. Kamla didn't call no fake oil man. Kamla didn't have no candidate who was also linked to fake oil man. Kamla didn't appoint no senator who's the daughter of fake oil man. So Petrotrin would have remained open. Dwayne, you want to know what we will do differently? Continuing, Mr. Dwayne. We would not have allowed a geologist who's not too bright, who does not know the difference between a centurion and a centenarian, We would not have sent him and a small pin Kong, who is the only attorney, the only lawyer that has lost a case to someone who did not put in a defense. We would not have sent them to Houston to negotiate any gas price on behalf of the brilliant engineers and qualified people at NGC. We would have allowed the brilliant, intelligent people who walk in there, draws in a pay, and it is their job to know what to do, how to negotiate, and get the best deal for Trinidad and Tobago. We would have let those people negotiate with those brilliant executives and qualified professionals that were headhunted internationally at the upstream companies like EOG, BPTT, and whoever else. We would have had equal minds fighting a battle for negotiation. What would that have done? That would ensure that the brighter fellas at them other companies would not have outsmarted our two dunces, Rowley and Smallpin. And therefore, the 10 companies that have shut down at NGC, at Point Lisas, because of the gas price and the reduction in margins and the bad business model that flowed therein, their inability to make profits, especially in a global marketplace where prices were suppressed, that would not have happened. Jobs would not have been lost. These companies would have remained. Taxes would have been collected. That's what we would have done differently. NGC would not have made a loss, the first ever loss in the history of NGC over 43 years. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would not have allowed ArcelorMittal to shut down. She would have put qualified people to sit with them, negotiate along with labor, and work out a tripartite approach to keeping the plant working, whether with incentives, whether with negotiations, cost duties off, prices, quotas, whatever it took, because in Kamla Prasad Bisesa heart, people come first. So 600 workers is 600 workers. But when you have a heartless, careless Dwayne who don't like nobody but himself, then you end up with people going home without batting an eyelid. That's the problem, Dwayne. You are the problem. Your prime minister is the problem. Your heartless nature, your incompetence, and your selfishness is the problem. We would have continued our agricultural investment. Under the People's Partnership, when we came in 2010, the PNM, as usual, after shutting down Caroni 1975 Limited in 2004, again neglected agriculture once again. And the national investment was approximately 400 million per year until 2010. In the 2011 budget under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, that went up to 1.2 billion and averaged 1.2 billion for the next 4 budgets. As soon as the PNM came in, this was cut again in 1/3. 2/3 cut off the top, back down to 400 million. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would have continued the investment in agriculture, which would have meant an investment of over $800 million per year by 5 years, $4 billion in investment in agriculture, agro-processing, getting more lands cultivated, buy local program, inculcating understanding of the population that our food import bill was too high and needed to come down, an education program in primary schools, secondary schools, and across radio, TV, and newspapers to encourage people to buy and eat local in order to take advantage of the multiplier effect of spending money locally. We would have been able, all of this before COVID, to feed ourselves and cut our food import bill from $4.8 billion down lower, with a goal to getting it down to about $2 billion. Also, incentives would have been given to Supermarkets Association distributors, one, to give our local produce premier spots in groceries and so on, and to provide our local farmers with feedstock, cheaper fertilizer, and so on, to keep the cost down and also keep the food inflation down as low as possible. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would also have left VAT off food. The 6,000 odd items that she had zero rated VAT, no VAT, would have remained and possibly would have increased. This would have put in the pockets of every citizen an extra 12%, 12.5% of their food budget per month, which could range between, for a family of 4, between $300 to $600 per month. We would have cultivated more land under agriculture because Kamla Prasad Bisesa came from farming. She used to plant rice in the lagoon. While Fitzgerald Hines may think that it's derogatory, planting the land and working hard creates character and also keeps you in touch with human beings. So when you get up to high office, you put programs that help people like Children Life Fund, like baby grants, like differently able grants to keep children in school, increase funding for PAN, for culture, for art, for sport. That's what you do. You don't go up in the hills, leave Lavantia and go up in Maraval and live in one ugly palace that we ain't know how we pay for it yet. Pomsite. Unlike Keith Rowley, who would have said that Trinidad and Tobago agriculture makes no sense because we do not have enough land. What an idiotic, ridiculous statement. That's what UNC would have done differently. We respect the ability of our farmers and our people to grow food. We respect our land. We respect the ability to feed ourselves, and we believe in Trinidad and Tobago and the quality of our products. We would have also gone into agro-processing and incentives to export in areas where we hold a comparative advantage. Kamla Prasad Bisesa has talked about the scorpion pepper, the types of pepper down in Maruga, the rice, across the board. There would have been no new taxes. Since you have come in, Dwayne, you've taxed anything and everything. You've taxed everybody. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was there for 5 years and did not put a new tax. She would not have put one new tax. People would still be able to buy their foreign goods online and so on and not pay that 7%. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would have cut corporate tax and small business taxes down from your 30%, trying to get it eventually over a 4-year period down to 20%, so that that extra money could be reinvested by the medium, small businesses and large to create growth and create jobs. By creating jobs, creating growth, improving your balance of payments and getting your economy to grow, that is the way you create new revenue streams, new taxes. So even though you reduce the tax rate, your tax take will increase because of the increase and the growth in the economy. But you couldn't see that, Colin, because you're too small-minded, you're too short, you're too myopic, and you're too selfish. Vat refunds, when we came in 2010, there was over $2.65 billion in VAT refunds owed. It is the way of the PNM to stifle people, to humbug their cash flow, to keep their money to do vanity projects. That is the PNM way. That was the PNM in 2002 to 2010, and that is the PNM now 2015 to present. People are owed VAT refunds. Coleman used COVID to say that he paid out $770 million in VAT refunds. What the hell does that have to do with COVID? VAT refunds are due on time. We paid off in the People's Partnership those VAT refunds and got it up to speed where people were getting their VAT refunds within 6 weeks. They were getting back their VAT refunds. There are people and businesses out there now who have not received VAT refunds for going on 3 years. This puts a pressure on their already stifling cash flow and causes them to have to lay off workers and not be able to pay their bills. When we come back, I'm going to tell you all another huge thing. Call me if you think that I am nearly done. I have but just begun. We're coming back.
them don't like axe. Every kid and race finally got places love to the max. And when we tell them on hell, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics.
And then you have other problems that our businesses face. Shortages of foreign exchange because our commodities that we depend on, oil and gas.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The Prime Minister said the government was so confident with the rectitude of its action that it was not prepared to shy away from the people who are affected most by the action. He also had one message for the mothers, sisters, neighbors, and those attached to the Petrotrin business.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
The Prime Minister described Petrotrin as an integrated company involved in many areas of business.
It's involved in owning assets. It's involved in looking for oil. It's involved in piping oil. It's involved in drilling for oil. It's involved in refining oil and getting refined products. It's involved in marketing its refined products.
Gas prices are down, gas production is down, and that is the major source of foreign exchange for the government, which we put back into the commercial banking system. So, problems with foreign exchange, problems with revenue. So, we have to borrow. In order to stimulate growth, we must spend. There's a lot of talk outside of there, don't spend. But if you don't spend, you suppress the economy, you crash the economy. How do we spend? We have to borrow. We have no choice. We have to borrow money, we have to dip into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. So that is what the virus has done to our economy. It has suppressed activity, it has shut a lot of activity down, and it has caused us to increase the public debt, and it has caused us to go into the Heritage Fund. But we have absolutely no choice as a country. I sit in the Ministry of Finance and I hear all sorts of things outside of there. I hear advice that we should reduce expenditure to match our income. If we were to do that, you're talking $15, $20 billion cut. You know what a $15 billion cut would do to our economy, Prime Minister? Thousands of people would lose their jobs. Thousands of businesses would close down. So I can't follow that advice. When people say, cut your expenditure to match your income, I can't do that. Others say, don't borrow. Well, if we don't borrow, where's the money going to come from?
Now, when you have a total, complete dunce on one hand and a total dishonest liar on the next, this is why we are in a mess. So here it is, the Prime Minister is saying and espousing all of the things that Petrotrin does and how it's diversified and the portfolio and we're producing this and that, and he's not shutting it down. And if your fridge was open, close your fridge, he's not shutting it. Bam! Fake oil shut down. Put the lawyer in charge of that. A man who don't know nothing about oil and gas. Put the next best friend. Yeah, they might. And anyway, best friend in charge of Paria. The next one is talking about he had to borrow and spend. Borrow and spend on what? What is the plan? There are many ways to increase revenue. There are opportunities. You have to think. You have to diversify the economy. The economy. One of the ways that we would have been different we would not have removed the gas subsidy. The people, the financial people who do not care about you, the human beings, came to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar on 4 occasions when I was a minister and told her that the gas subsidy is too much, and it's too much, and in order for the government to have money to spend on what they would like to. Now, understand that? They cut the gas subsidy to allow Rowley, Imbut, and the recusal twins to choose what they think they want to spend money on. Get it clear? They didn't cut the gas subsidy just for cutting the gas subsidy, just for so. The rationale was that for the government to make a choice to spend money on, for example, 500 million for Red House, 18 million for the Prime Minister residence in Tobago, 110 million for President's House, interchange to circle so that we could come from Diego Martin to go Westmoreland. That building now, a building for the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, so them go sit down in air condition comfortable while you driving in pothole. To build an airport in Tobago for $1.2 billion when it was only supposed to be budgeted at 300 million on top of that. And listen to this very carefully, because nobody is against investment in Tobago, because you all like to drop discussion down to the basic level of stupidity. The airport currently in Tobago under Stephen Cadiz and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, the same airport in 2014, could accommodate 97,000 international arrivals comfortably per year. For the last 4 years since PNM, international arrivals before COVID was down to 17,000. So that airport that is in Tobago is running under capacity by 80,000 international arrivals. So why do you need to expand something that is empty, that is not being utilized, that is not reaching maximum? Don't you think you have to get those numbers up? And when they're approaching 70, 80,000, not 97 like Kamala and Cadiz, we don't expect PNM to be that good. When it's approaching that, you then do a 2-year construction, increase your capacity so you can get in 150,000, 200, 300,000 visitors through a more efficient airport, a bigger airport, greater capacity. But you have to do the job, the work, in order for the investment to pay off. But just spending money so man could make money, not all, you know, them financiers could make, does not make sense. Now this man Imbut is sitting there talking all of that and blaming COVID. Thus far, I have not reached COVID yet, you know. I have not reached COVID-19 yet. Everything I'm talking about now is pre-COVID-19. So the gas subsidy means that if you are born a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, you own a piece of the wealth of the land. You own a piece of the gas and a piece of the oil. And in that gas subsidy, whether you have a car or not is irrelevant, because all the goods that you consume, the transportation cost would be reduced. So if you are a baby in belly, your baby milk when you come out will be cheaper, your medicine will be cheaper, mommy could go in the grocery, all the grocery items cheaper, everything cheaper, hardware cheaper, sand cheaper, everything cheaper because of the gas subsidy. Imbut has removed that subsidy, not once, not twice, not 3 times. All you didn't riot and he moved it, now it's all gone. And that is so that they could spend money on what they want. They could still rent Al-Rawi building and he could get the rent on time. They could still do what they want, sell what they want, build what they want, do vanity project like waterfront in San Fernando. We like San Fernando to look pretty. But is that what we need right now at this time? Rather than putting food on table, keeping food price inflation down, or creating jobs locally and allowing goods to be transported, people to move around and drive their cars and create a secure situation. You know many women and children, girls, women, mothers, sisters going to be out by June, July, on the roads looking for transport, open for people to abuse them and take advantage of them. That's the PNM way. Run the video, Archie, about the gas subsidy. We, the UNC, would not have taken your gas subsidy because we believe that you are born here and those are your resources. Kamla Prasad Bisesa left it and would have left it. Fisherman would have had regular gas and fisherman would have been able to go and search a fish and fish would have been cheaper on the table. Run it, Archie.
I turn now to the fuel subsidy. Madam Speaker, as stated in my last two budget statements, it is necessary to eliminate the fuel subsidy since it is not a good or efficient use of taxpayers' funds.
Out of the $4 billion fuel subsidy, over $1 billion is paid by the oil companies and not by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And what the minister is supposed to do, he's supposed to pass on the benefits of the oil levy on to consumers.
The price of fuel by 15%. I propose to increase the price of super gasoline by just 15%.
True cost of premium gasoline is $4.73. Why is the minister making consumers pay $5.75 for premium
And I
gas?
came back again just a few weeks ago and raised it by another 15%. It is proposed, therefore, to continue the incremental removal of the fuel subsidy.
Taking the petroleum levy that the oil companies pay, not taxpayers, and not applying it to subsidize the price of premium gas. What are you doing? You are breaking the law.
I haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15%.
What are you doing? You are breaking the law.
Now you all know that we are not in total chaos just by VAPs or by fluke or by guess. We are in total chaos because of the perfect storm of stupidity, incompetence, lack of care, selfishness, greed, and just no patriotic zeal, no effort, no efficacy, no intelligence, no discussion, no communication. Arrogance and dotishness combined to be the PNM government. We also would not have wasted your taxpayer money by giving a small parlor-like financial institution who did not have resources $3.81 billion of your money in work. Think about it. If you are tendering for financing objectives, if you're trying to raise capital, raise money, get investment, wouldn't the bigger, larger financial institutions that benefit from economies of scale and have a large asset base, wouldn't they be the ones who can give you a lower interest rate and thereby over 18 to 20 year period save you millions and millions of dollars? Well, the PNM has a favorite little small parlor financial institution on the avenue where man stand up and drink rum close to by Frankie's Day. And they have gotten and won tenders of $3.81 billion. Where did they get that from? What was the asset base? Where did they raise the capital from? Did they borrow to then lend? And if they borrowed to then lend, wouldn't it have been cheaper for the government to get from those who they borrowed it from in the first place without having to borrow to lend? Because then the interest rates would have been lower on you. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would not have two super ministers who recused themselves 92 times from the cabinet. This lady did not even let friend and family members go on boards in the government. Ministers' families were not allowed to be on any boards whatsoever. They were only allowed, people were only allowed to be on one board. No interlocking directorships. This PNM madness, not only did they allow 92 recusals, they're renting out their own buildings. They're taking decisions going out and saying they recuse themselves by stepping out a door and sipping a coffee. That would not have occurred. You would have gotten more value for money on that alone. Furthermore, the population would not have suffered that fiasco with the $100 bill changing in 2 weeks because the PNM lost a local government election and wanted to change the discussion, talking about crime and corruption and banditry and gangster and money and what they go get. They get nothing. They get a barber and a pastor, and the pastor go get back the money, and we don't know what the barber was doing. The barber could have sell, barber does make money. Don't know how long he saved. So that is what they did. But the population would not have been suffered like that by Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. The central bank, who's in charge of the money supply, would have controlled that and not played games with the economy and people's safety, security, and breakdown of productive hours. Do you know in that 2-week period how many productive hours were lost by people lining up in a bank to change money that they had? Every day, Trinidad and Tobago at efficient levels like 2014 could produce $24 million to GDP every day. If you shut down half of that for 2 weeks, you have taken out of the economy possibly upwards of $150 million. Therefore, people lose jobs, less tax intake, and it's totally inconvenient. Far less for the people who nearly pass out and old people stand up in the hot sun and so on. Kamala Prasad Bisesa would have protected the porous borders. Not COVID time, but all the time. The Coast Guard vessels that she got, the Dayman vessels, would have been fully dieseled up, filled up, and would have been patrolling. The army camps, the radar would have been working, the air guard would have been functioning and up to date with new radar systems and planes that were up to date. The helicopters would have been flying, the National Air Guard, the Defense Force, and everybody would have locked down the borders, especially since Maduro was starting to ramp up his oppression. Kamala Prasad Bisesa would have stayed closer to our US, European, and Canadian allies, and if need be, would have sought their help in border protection against Maduro, as well as supporting the reinstitution of democracy in Venezuela. Fix Venezuela, and then Trinidad is eased up of a problem. To uphold Maduro, the oppressor that people are running from, means that Trinidad and Tobago will continue to have a problem. As you can see, Small Pin and them only answers, well, we renew the registration, renew registration, renew registration, talking about 13,000 now, when we all know it had 13,000 Venezuelan in Philippines alone. On the avenue must be about 20,000. Up in Simeon Road might be have our next 5,000. Across in Central, in Cuba, in Chaguanas, must be have our next 20,000. Down in Point Fortin, Labre, Cedros, Fullerton, must be have our next 60,000. 7 million more Venezuelans will leave Venezuela this year. How much of that will come across here? Well, some of them running from here and all because we had the PNM. And PNM and Maduro look like the same thing. Corporate governance, I spoke about that. We would not have had any Noel Garcia spending all of your money. Do you really feel that one man building airport, building hospital, building health center, building police station, fire station, all the houses, building Red House, building President's House, building Prime Minister residence in Tobago, building sporting stadium, that one man doing this is really efficient? Is really ensuring that you get value for money, that is solid corporate governance, having one man, Noel Garcia, do all of that, and y'all are happy with that, y'all are good with that, and on top of that, they come and got the procurement legislation to legalize thieving, and you want to know what we would have done different? Call me, but we would have leave the procurement legislation as we had it and we passed it with the 3/5 majority. It would have stayed just so and be proclaimed. We would not have no Noel Garcia spending $3 to $4 billion of taxpayer money in any 1 year. How did SRI get the contract in Diego Martin? Is there a new contract for swimming pool and thing down in Diego Martin? The first stadium lock up, the citizens cannot even use it. Is it SRI who has played golf with Rowley, who is going to be given the second phase, which is swimming pool and thing in Diego Martin also? what was paid to SRI for the foundation that was put there in 2009, because when I was minister, SRI wanted 36 million, and the engineers of the sport company told me in writing that the value there was about 6.8 million, and that's why the project was at a pause, because they refused to take that. They wanted that 36 million. Did Udicott and Noel Garcia pay SRI? How much did they pay for that work that was there from since 2009, 2010? How much? Do we know? Do you all care to know? I already said we'd have reduced corporation tax. We'd have improved the ease of doing business. When the partnership left in 2015, we were ranked 65th in the world at the ease of doing business. In order to attract business, you have to be able to get your approvals, get your investment, get your interest, get your information, get your leases, get everything done quickly to encourage people to do business. Under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Trinidad and Tobago was ranked 65th. When she came in 2010, we were at 87th. Now we stand at 105th. We have dropped 40 places under the PNM in ease of doing business. We are in negative foreign direct investment for the last 6 years. The PNM has not encouraged or involved or received any foreign direct investment. We are at a 600 million deficit on that realm, and therefore there can be no growth. When Coleman asked about where you get the money from, you get the money from diversification, from growth areas, from being creative, from creating new revenue streams, from investing in your talent, creative arts, the entertainment sector, carnival, agriculture, agro-processing, sport industry, sports, tourism. Going down the board, the PNM has shut down everything and has done nothing. So then he comes to tell you the only way we could go is to borrow and take out all your savings and spend it so your children have nothing. And that's, he's telling you that, and you all accept that as being the only thing we could do. And he's saying it, the only thing we could do is borrow, raid the HSF and spend all your money. And you all vote for that because you what? Because Indian head straight and African have nice afro? What? So who did Ogla to vote for? We continuing. Under WASA, under the UNC, under Ganga Singh, under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, 73% of the population was getting a 24/7 water supply. Why is water important for the economy? Water is life. When water goes, productivity decreases. When water goes, as we're seeing, corruption in truck-borne water and increased costs for manufacturing, increased costs for people, increased costs across the board, loss of productive work hours. Under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, WASA was working at 73% efficiency, 24/7 supply. It is down now under Rowley to 22%. That's what we would have done differently. We would have fixed the leaks. The leaks since LeHunt came in and said there were 2,800 leaks. He said give him a year. By December 31st, 2017, he will have the leaks down, 90% of them fixed. The leaks went up from 2,800 to 4,200. Now we don't even know the amount of leaks. WASA produces 4.2 billion gallons of water per month. And when they turn on the pumps to pump it to you, the citizens, they lose 54% of that. Over 2.6 billion gallons of water lost per month. That is wasting. They said it takes 23 cents to produce a gallon of water. Multiply the billions by 23 cents and see how much money PNM wasting. Efficiency, cutting costs, efficiency, lower your expenditure, spend in areas that will enhance your growth capacity, not just borrow and suck out the savings. The UNC would have finished the schools and continued the investment in education, because creating an educated population, especially in this 21st century, in the digital era, to take advantage of innovation, apps, creativity, new markets, technology, artificial intelligence. We have the intelligence. In fact, our intelligent people are leaving. We are suffering from brain drain. And now under the PNM, as the borders open, there's going to be another brain drain as people are going to pack up and leave here. Not only money, but intellectual capacity and capital is going to leave this country, because the PNM has thwarted hope, thwarted opportunity, and has crashed everything. UNC would have funded education, UTT would have kept their funding, GATE would have kept their funding, would not have been cut like that, willy-nilly, without any forethought, without any future, just selfish. Because we go back to the beginning. If you put a selfish prime minister who care about nothing and nobody but himself and his financiers, with a man who he don't even like himself when he look in the mirror, he wiped him like he did when. Two of them in charge of charting a path forward for you. Them don't like you. We'd have left the scholarships on merit that was functioning well. Let any child anywhere in the country, whether Tobago, Sharpeville, come down the line to Ikakas, Matlot, Labre, Scuva, Pinal, anywhere, Dego Martin, Tong, Dabadi, Arima, wherever, let all children fight for what they deserve. Study hard, work hard, get your scholarship. Not go and lick K-Pax in Balize house and see who like who. We would not have released Malcolm Jones and Ken Julian from the civil proceedings in which had been begun against them to recoup your taxpayers' money. Malcolm Jones with the World GTL and the other plant which lost $13 billion of yours. We would have gone through the entire civil proceedings and possible criminal after. The PNM pulled him out of court just like that and was the laughing stock of the Privy Council. Ken Julian with Bamboo Networks, $31 million, went against Christine Sahadeo, former minister in the Ministry of Finance, who wrote him and told him not to invest taxpayers' money in Bamboo Networks. It was too risky and the portfolio was not diversified, and she said it was not to be done. He did it anyway. And now they're cutting deal now with his son. Half a son, cutting deal with full inside son. And that's going on in your country, and you all say great is the PNM. We would not, Kamla Prasad Bisesa would not ask the population to wean themselves off of the government. The government is there under Kamla Prasad Bisesa to help those most in need. Rowley's government helps those who need more money. And that is a huge difference. What would the UNC have done differently? The UNC would have governed with a heart, because the leader of the UNC is a mother who loves children, loves single parents, loves those most in need. And therefore, the taxpayers' dollars would have been used to uplift those, to encourage those, embracing the domestic economy, making people more viable, making people earn more, and therefore creating revenue streams that were before not seen, and that Dwayne and Rowley cannot see, because their policy is you must wean yourself off the government so they can recuse themselves more. We are in this mess not by fluke, but by careful, selfish, inhumane, greedy design. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would not have policies to make the rich richer and let it hope to trickle down. She would have policies directed at those at-risk groups as she had before, and would have continued so to do. And she would not have put two so-called bourgeois elitists in charge of crime. She would have put people who understand all the elements of crime from the ground up to the science. She would not have put one tight shirt, one shirt wearing, and the next one small pin, who trying to say he like Buju Banton conscious lyrics now. Heliconia Foundation making he into some kind of human being when he's sickening and sticking people outside of the country and laughing and ridiculing citizens who are unable to come home because he is playing God and he has the power to grant exemption. This small pin clown who say he wanted to be a priest, but he went the opposite direction. Who say devil? We coming back.
Politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago, do we have this thing out to fix? We coming with facts, cut them down like axe. Every kid and race finally got places locked to the max. And when we tell them, Manel, Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yo. Douglas politics, listen, Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics, yeah. Douglas politics, this is Douglas politics. And it is zero race, zero.
If we find ourselves in a situation where the action that is required to confront an outbreak are the actions that we had to do in early 2020, the consequences will be personally for you very serious. One, there would be no resources to provide a government bailout. So those of you who know who you are, the many tens of thousands of you who received a government check, and all of you kept very quiet when you got it. The handful of people who didn't get it made a lot of noise. But those of you, the tens of thousands of you who received a government check, I'm putting you on notice now. If we, as a population, find ourselves back in that situation, where those are the decisions to be made and the actions to be taken, there are no resources to hand out checks like that. If you are in the business community, and you are one of those who got a government check as any part of the response, whether it was a Vat refund, whether it was support for your business and so on, the resources have been used up. If it is that you relied very heavily on a government food box that we gave out, tens of thousands of those that came to your household, you know who you are and you know what you got. It was not free, it was paid for by the government. You know who you are and you know what you got. It was not free, it was paid for by the government.
No, I cannot cuss on Douglas politics. But just listen to the arrogance of this man. And talking about it was paid for by the government. It was paid for by the taxpayers' money. Furthermore, what are you talking about? If you add up everything, these big checks that he's talking about, for those of you who bothered to fill out the entire textbook that you had to fill out in order to get a $1,500 by 3, $4,500 to feed a family of 4. This man is such a clueless, selfish clown. What is $1,500 going to do for a family of 4 in Trinidad and Tobago? That does not even cover your grocery bill for 2 weeks to feed the 4 of you. And we ain't talk about rent, about electricity, water. We ain't talk about nothing else. But he is talking that they have no more resources. He's also talking about if you get a VAT refund have nothing to do with COVID. VAT refund is all your money that you paid that you had to get back. This man, something is wrong with him. Furthermore, if you add up, and I've listened to each and every one of them talk, whether it's poor little Donna Cox, whether it's Rowley, whether it's Imbot. If you add up, and let me pretend that everybody who applied, all 52,149 of y'all who applied for the 3-month grant of 1,500, let's pretend all of y'all got it. So 153,000 whatever of, right, by 1,500. And let's pretend that all the people who applied for business support and rental support, that you all got it. That adds up in total maximum $450 million. $450 million. And they didn't pay out all of that, okay? But let me just for argument's sake tell you that they did. They did great and they paid out all of that. Where the other $17.55 billion? Where is the other $17.55 billion that they spent $18 billion from the heritage and stabilization, from the reserves that Kamla Prasad Bisesa left, from borrowing from your money? Where it went? Because it did not go to you. And not only did it not go to you, this man is buffing y'all and saying that y'all fast and out of place, and y'all don't wear masks and COVID-19 goes about and it flares up. Even though his attorney general liming and hugging up man and kissing and rubbing hands together and spitting it in each other's eye, that if you the people with your money that he spent, that all you ain't get nothing, if that happen again, all you is to get nothing. That clung in that stupid shirt that Anglo-Saxons tell me that if we wear that, that is what Caribbean people is. That clown who come to a press conference to talk to the population in a flipping Caribbean monkey shirt. That clown. When people back in the days thought about Caribbean people, they didn't think about geniuses, businessmen, great sportsmen, great scientists, great Nobel laureates, literature, writers, doctors, surgeons. They didn't see us as that. They saw us as sea, sand, a rum punch, and maybe one little tenor pan knocking with a funny straw hat and a shirt like that Rowley wearing. This clown, where did y'all find this clown? That is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago wearing that nonsense and talking down to the people and then discussing that there is no more money. Where did money gone? Because it certainly ain't reach y'all. How much are y'all applied to NEDCO for assistance for small business and ain't get nothing except a further 20 questions? And when you answer the 20 questions, they ask you a next 20 questions. How many are y'all? Now let's get into COVID-19 calm. What would the UNC have done different? First of all, we would have studied the best because it started in the east and was coming west. So we would have studied South Korea, we would have studied New Zealand, we would have seen the protocols, we would have formulated a plan, we would have debated the issue in January, prepared people. If we had carnival, we would have had proper protocols in place at the airport for total screening, rapid testing, PCR testing. All of that would have been done at the airport. They would have been quarantining before you coming in, if carnival was to go on. And then during carnival, all of these testing kits would have been in, over 150,000 kits. We would have gotten ventilators in. We would have had contact tracing. We would have had bracelets and monitoring on the phones to know that people, what they are doing and what they are not doing. We would have put in more investment and brought our people home. We would have repatriated all citizens from across the globe safely and securely, coming in at 2,000 at a time, moving through, not locking people out. We would have gotten those grants, that 1,500 by 3, out within 6 weeks. Kamla Prasad Bisesa would have had the Ministry of Finance set up a warehouse with check printers, check typers, check amounters, check verification, all they're doing 24 hours a day is printing check for the people. You all use the same normal slow system, and people have not received 3 months, and they've been under pressure for 12 months, and they are proud of that, so proud of it that they're talking down to you and disrespecting you. Why would you vote for that? Your mother and father don't even talk down to you, but you all vote for this clown who don't know where your money gone, what he do. Have a bunch of clowns recusing themselves, doing what they want, suffering all you, and then talking down to all you. What he have for all you? All you serious? That is what it is? We would have put a real doctor as the Minister of Health from one of the many that we could select from. A real doctor with experience, knowledge, understanding, care for the nurses, care for the frontline workers. We would have had proper PPE gear. We would have understood mask and social distancing. We did not have mama guy people with these press conferences with a convent girl talking about rip a jersey apart. Mask is of no use. There is no cure, but we use a drug costing 200,000 to save patient. We would not have had no wife of no minister in no company getting contract. We would have done the quarantine monitoring special system to process grants. As I said, even-handed application of laws. The laws would have been applied across the board, not for some, and some could go and come, and those PNM people in the bourgeois, all you know who are talking about, could go and come while some others are just outside there suffering. We would have had antigen and antibody testing from since March, April 2020. We would not, Kamala Persad-Bissessar would not have called an election in a pandemic, an early election. She would have waited till it was constitutionally due in December of 2020. She would not have caused that. She would have also shut down the borders properly and not allow illegal immigrants just walking across, coming across, piroguing across, swimming across, backstroking across, no helicopter, no Coast Guard, lying in the parliament and bawling about daymen engineers not coming. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC would have protected the vulnerable while keeping the economy open. This is very key. Kamala Persad-Bissessar understood from the onset that COVID-19 posed two threats: the health risk and the economic devastation. Right now, we fail in the health risk. 142 people dead, even though we were at so-called 8 deaths for about 4 months and on lockdown. Therefore, we should have solved the problem and had no problem. But since then, 134 people have died. And then now, the economic devastation we may never recover from. On top of that, we have no vaccinations right now, and we will not reach herd immunity till mid next year at this rate. So Kamala Persad-Bissessar would have kept the economy going, protect the elderly and those with comorbidities, and keep the younger people going, because if you have contact tracing, if you have proper systems in place, you have temperature checks, if you have testing, like at some of the corporations like Nestle, they had testing for all their workers and so on, some of them international corporations moving smoothly. That system should have been utilized and keep the economy churning over. We would have kept beaches and rivers open because outdoors and utilized more hot sun. We would not have shut down vendors and vegetable marts and doubles. We would have shut down air condition and inside office, because the virus lives longer in air condition and cool conditions. The virus stays alive for 72 hours in cool conditions. In hot sun, it only lives for 12 hours. So therefore, it would have been safer to move everything outdoors. Sporting activities could have continued safely under protocols, not wearing a mask, wearing shields, social separation, and keeping. People would not have been shut down and locked in, and domestic violence and depression gone up across the country. We would have brought home the Barbados 33, the Margarita 19, and the Suriname 35 without abusing them, without disrespecting them, without attacking Barbados and saying that Bajans are using here as a jump-off point. Jump off what? The only person who have to jump off something, you have to jump off up on a bed to land on top of Asha Javid in order to get at the ball. That's what you have to do, Mr. Smallpin. not attack neighbors like Barbados, we would have had a vaccine basket. We would not have just put everything in COVAX. We would have gotten basket COVAX, India. We would have gotten the Pfizer 351,000 that the ministry got. And if we needed answer, well, I doubt we would have, but if we needed answer to pay it, well, answer could have paid, and that would have been a tax credit for the annual taxes, just minus that from what they normally had to pay. What's the big deal? We would have gotten 351,000, then we would have gotten some others from Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, whoever, but we would have hit herd immunity by July this year. Therefore, we could have announced, the UNC would have announced in July, Carnival 2022 is on, because we would have reached herd immunity. Everybody would have the vaccination. Trinidad and Tobago would have taken advantage of being a small society. Tobago would have been a bubble, pristine from before. And when CARICOM made their bubble to get economic activity, Tobago by itself would have been included in that. Because Tobago had an advantage, it is already isolated, and we would have done everything to keep Tobago pristine so that economic activity could have begun in Tobago. People would have been given tax credits, businessmen across the board. Over 38% of businesses have shut down and would never open again. Under Kamla Persad-Bissessar, cash flows would have been, the businessmen, the CEOs, the owners of businesses would have been assisted with their cash flows. So tax credits would have been given for those who keep their employees on at whatever percentage they could afford to pay. There would have been a moratorium on VAT payments so that 15% extra cash would have gone to these businesses for the month, and so on, to assist people, to help people, to keep people employed. Kamla Persad-Bissessar would have gone to the parliament to put a law to prevent banks to freeze mortgages and interest payments on loans and so on for a certain period during the lockdown. Absolute freeze, not a deferral, and then as they start back, all of them come and tell you, you have 4 months for me, pay it now. Where are you going to pay it now? But the Rowley and Imbot do not. That's their friends. That's their financiers. That's the brethren them, not you. You they talk down to. They tell you, look at HDC house. Don't turn it into a ghetto. Wean yourself off the government. But today, for Shouter Baptist, they're Rowley telling all you, take care of the vulnerable. Rowley, you have made the entire country vulnerable. You have made all of us vulnerable. Even big businessmen crying because their business shutting down. They cannot last. They've used up all their reserves. Big businesses shutting down, excellent stores shutting down stores. Imagine that. We continuing. Kamla Persad-Bissessar would have kept the school feeding program up to 48,000 children. Rowley took it as an advantage for COVID-19 to starve 28,000 children. Go and check. They keep boasting about 20,000 children home at online are getting school feeding. Yes, but without COVID, the normal number is 48,000 children getting school feeding, 2 meals per day. So if you only giving 20,000, that means you are 28,000 children short by 2 meals per day. And even this school feeding is short from what Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla had back in 2013, 2014 of 74,000 children receiving school feeding programs so that they could study on a full belly. Or you ever try to walk when your belly griping and you're hungry? There would have been laptops and tablets that would have continued since 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And then those who were left over in 2020 would have been given their laptops, not begging citizens willy-nilly, give me something here, give me something there, but they don't want to beg for vaccine. Kamla Persad-Bissessar would have ensured that our children would not have lost out on 12 months of education. As we stand here now, Colmimbot, 46,990 children have not even logged on for an online class in the last 12 months. This could never be recouped. And we have a Minister of Education who is now saying in her SAG's 75-year anniversary, where she and Narcissus Scope were best friends at St. Augustine Girls, and Narcissus Scope is now in charge of the EBC, not only the niece of a former sitting PNM minister, but the best friend of an actual minister now is in charge of the EBC, in charge of the elections, and you all think that is fair. That is like Trinidad and Tobago going to play St. Kitts Nevis, and the referee go be from St. Kitts Nevis. Or they will find that is fair. Would you all accept that? FIFA would not allow that. So call me, but to cut a long story short, the UNC would have done a lot differently. And Trinidad and Tobago would have been able to take opportunity from devastation. In devastation, there's opportunity for the brave, for the intelligent, for the creative. The people of Trinidad and Tobago would have been united, and the taxpayers' money would have been used to assist them without arrogance, and not financiers, and without recusals. They would not have put an engineer, selfish dunce like you, with no heart, who don't like nobody, in charge of the Ministry of Finance. You have made a royal mess of it. You are the most arrogant, complete dunce dwen in the history of the Ministry of Finance. Everything you say is untrue. You've made a total, complete mess of the foreign exchange, of the investment, of the ease of doing business, of the competitive, of foreign, of opportunities to move forward, of the diversification of the money supply, because you have chosen and handpicked governors of the central bank. You have tried to control everything. You have a permanent secretary who is talking politics when he's discussing COVID-19 and the budgeting going forward. You have made a royal mess of it. And the UNC, together with intelligent people qualified in disparate fields, would have handled not only the economy for the last 6 years, but the COVID-19 pandemic in a much better way. Trinidad and Tobago would not be in the state of collapse and chaos as it is now. We cannot even drive on the roads without busting a tire. We cannot go in the hospital and get nothing. Crime is out of hand. People who don't do crime are now doing crime, and it is getting violent and stupid. They are not career criminals. They are people who are now delving into crime, and that is when it becomes even more dangerous, because a nervous bandit with a weapon is a deadly dangerous bandit. Our women are under siege, our economy is under siege, and I have answered your question, Didwen. Come now, clap back now, you clown. The PNM is a disease. We used to say God is a Trini. We don't get hurricane, we don't get earthquake. God has blessed we. Yes, well, God had to bless we, because he burdened we with the PNM since January 15th, 1956, and we suffering every day because of that. Listen to this. Look at this. This is your Prime Minister, just to show you all. The Prime Minister golfing in Tobago, and all your suffering. The Prime Minister tried to tell a lady who turn 100, happy birthday to the centurion, not knowing that a centurion is a Roman soldier. The lady is 100, you know, is a centenarian, but he put, and he ain't edited, he ain't changed it, he ain't do nothing. The centurion who was born in Trinidad and Tobago, you complete total dunce. Centurion, well, is Lara making 100, is a soldier, he have on a shield, what it is? And just to finish off, this last one, there was Albert Einstein. I think he was a genius mind. There's Newton. He was an extraordinary mind. Bill Gates, a brilliant mind. And then there's Keith Rowley. Never mind. We gone. Bless.
Politics, we don't get no kicks. Trinidad and Tobago, do we have this thing up the